जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। Thank you so much, Dāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, for kindly hosting today's 45th session on Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. I'm very grateful that you've been hosting most of the sessions. Thank you so much for your kindness, for your friendship. Thank you also to Param Karuna Prabhu for being the co-host. And thank you to all the wonderful devotees who are present here. I'm very grateful to each and every one of you that you are kindly present here. Devotees from so many sanghas, belonging to so many groups, coming together for one common purpose, the study of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. Without any further delay, let us begin the 45th session of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. The slideshow is in front of you. Now, the verse which was composed newly for the fourth verse of Śikṣāṣṭakam is in front of us. I'll sing the verse. प्रणवेन कृतं धन्यं वेदैस्त्रेतायुगं तथा गीतया द्वापरं धन्यं कलिः शिक्षाष्टकेन च। प्रणवेन कृतं धन्यं. Satyayuga was blessed with pranav, omkar. Vedaistreta tatha. Treta Yuga was blessed with the four Vedas. Gitaya dvaparam dhanyam. Dwapar Yuga was blessed with the Bhagavad Gita. And Kalihi Shikshashtakena cha. And Kali Yuga has been blessed with Shri Shiksastakam. So Bhagavan's Vani, Bhagavan's own words in the Satya Yuga appeared in the form of Pranav. Bhagavan's own words in Treta Yuga appeared in the form of the four Vedas. Bhagavan's own words were recorded in the Dwapar Yuga in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. And in Kali Yuga, Bhagavan's direct words are Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. We are blessed that in Kali Yuga, Bhagavan did not give us 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Neither did Bhagavan give us millions of hymns of the Vedas. Neither did Bhagavan make it so short for us as Pranav and expected us to perform a rigorous process of dhyan. Bhagavan gave us 8 verses, and these 8 verses consist of the essence of Yuga Dharma, Shri Harinam Sankirtan. It is also our standard practice to have a verse glorifying Shri Harinam in every session. Here is another verse glorifying Shri Harinam. Aho chitram, aho chitram, aho chitramidam dvija, Harinam nisthite loka, samsare vartate punaha. Aho chitram, how surprising. Aho chitram, how surprising. Aho chitramidam, indeed it is surprising to see. Harinamni sthite loka, that even though Harinam is present within this world, samsare vartate punah, some people still prefer to return to material existence instead of getting liberated. So this, dear devotees, is a wonderful verse glorifying Shri Harinam Sankirtan, and this is from the Bhagavan Nam Mahatmya Sangraha. This is verse number 407 of that collection of the glorification of Shri Harinam. Once again, we are discussing the fourth verse of Shri Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. Last time I had specified the meter of the verse is Viyogini, also known as Sundari. This is an Ardha Samavritta, half symmetric meter, which means that on even lines it has the same pattern, on odd lines it has the same pattern. Once again, I'll sing this particular verse. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarīṁ, kavitāṁ va jagadīśa kāmaye, mama janmani janmanīśvare, bhavatād bhaktir ahaitukī tvayi. This is the fourth verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam, as preserved by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Padyavali and compiled by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mahāprabhu in Gambhira is reciting these verses, and Mahāprabhu is in a state of dainya, excessive humility, when he is reciting them. Here is the Anvay. Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu, can you kindly read the Anvay?
O Jagannatha, I desire neither wealth, nor followers, nor a beautiful spouse, nor poetic ability. In each and every birth of mine, let there be causeless bhakti towards you, the Supreme.
Wonderful. So, O Jagannath, I desire na dhanam, neither wealth, na janam, nor followers, na sundarīṁ va kavitāṁ, nor a beautiful spouse, nor poetic ability. Janmani, janmani. And we had seen last time, janmani, janmani also means I do not even desire moksha, liberation, because I am prepared to take birth after birth. In each and every birth of mine, let there be ahaitukī bhakti, causeless bhakti, tvayi Ishvare, towards you, the Supreme. So this is the Anvay, and when you just arrange it in a sentence, you get the translation of this particular verse. Jagadish is translated as Jagannath, because this is how the commentators have translated Jagadish. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking this to Bhagavan Jagannath, Shri Krishna. Now we had seen the Sanskrit commentaries in the previous session, in the first session. Now we are moving ahead and we begin understanding the verse from the commentary of Shri Radha Govindanath. Shri Radha Govindanath starts commenting on na dhanam, na janam. He says, I do not ask for wealth or followers. O Jagadish, at your feet, I do not beg for wealth or followers. Na sundarīṁ kavitāṁ pa. Now here he combines sundarīṁ and kavitāṁ. Sundarīṁ becomes an adjective of kavitāṁ. So it means sundarīṁ, beautiful, kavita, poetry. So I do not even pray for sundarīṁ kavitāṁ, beautiful poetry, ornate verses, or the poetic power to captivate the minds of people. And then he says another meaning of na sundarīṁ kavitāṁ wise, then you can break them into two parts. Sundarīṁ is separate, kavitāṁ is separate. So I do not pray for kavita, power of poetry, and I do not pray for sundarīṁ, for a beautiful spouse. So either you can take sundarīṁ as separate, kavitāṁ as separate. So there sundarīṁ will mean beautiful spouse and kavitāṁ will mean poetic power or poetic ability. Or you can combine them. Sundarīṁ becomes an adjective of kavitāṁ. That means beautiful poetry. So he has given both meanings. Then he says, Ishvare bhavatād bhaktir ahaitukī tvayi. O Krishna, by your mercy, please grant me pure bhakti. This is my only prayer at your feet. And O Jagadish, if you wish, you can give anyone whatever they desire. But Bhagavan, I want nothing else at your feet. I only want your devotion. Now he starts explaining the deeper mood. Why na dhanam? Well, I do not pray for wealth, na dhanam, at your feet. Because intoxicated by the pride of wealth, a living being becomes blind towards you and forgets your words. So this is na dhanam. And then he says, na janam. Janam, we usually interpret as followers, but janam, he interprets as family members. So I do not pray for janam, sons, daughters, servants, because being absorbed in these temporary things will only pull me further away from you, the ultimate truth. Na sundarīṁ kavitāṁ. I do not want the power to compose beautiful poetry, nor the power to write ornate literature, nor a beautiful spouse, nor poetic genius, as these only give rise to vain pride and idle obsession. Mama janmani janmani. I want nothing else. I want only causeless bhakti. O most merciful Shri Krishna, please grant me your mercy so that birth after birth I may have causeless devotion at your feet. Continuing, he says, from the phrase Mama janmani janmani, in birth after birth, it is understood that a pure devotee does not even pray for liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Then he quotes a verse uttered by Shri Prahlad, who offered a similar prayer at the feet of Shri Nrisimhadev. And this is the prayer from the Vishnu Puran, which Shri Prahlad has offered unto Shri Nrisimhadev. This verse is in the meter Anushtup, standard meter of the Bhagavad Gita. Nath janma sahasreshu yeshu yeshu bhavamyaham teshu teshu achyuta bhaktir achyutastu sada tvayi. Nath, O Lord, janma sahasreshu yeshu yeshu, in each and every one of the thousands of birth, bhavamyaham, that I accept in this world, teshu teshu achyuta bhaktir, please let me have achyuta bhakti, unfailing devotion towards you, achyuta astu sada tvayi, towards you, the infallible Supreme Lord. So, this is what Prahlad Maharaj also is saying, Yoni janma sahasreshu. Many words I am willing to accept. Janmani janmani, similar mood by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Radha Govindanath clarifies the prayer for release from birth and death contains a desire for one's own happiness or the cessation of one's own suffering. This is contrary to pure bhakti. Similarly, prayers for wealth, followers, or poetic talent, in such prayers, the goal is one's own enjoyment. Therefore, these two are contrary to pure bhakti. In pure devotion, there is no desire other than the desire to serve Sri Krishna for his pleasure. If there is a desire for one's own happiness or the removal of sorrow, even within the wish to serve Sri Krishna, then that service is also contrary to pure bhakti. Then he says, as long as the desire for material enjoyment, which is known as bhukti, or liberation, which is known as mukti, remains in the heart, pure devotion cannot arise. And finally, he quotes a verse by Sri Rupa Goswami from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Bhukti mukti sprihayavat pishachi hridi vartate tavat bhakti sukham bodhe katham abhyudayo bhavet. Bhukti mukti sprihayavat pishachi hridi vartate. How is it possible, bhakti sukham bodhe, for the ocean of devotional happiness to appear in the heart as long as the witches, and the witches are the desires for bhukti, sense enjoyment, and mukti, liberation. As long as these two witches have haunted the heart, how is it possible for the happiness of bhakti, the ocean-like happiness of bhakti, to make an appearance in such a heart? So, he has specified the mood of the verse, na dhanaṁ, na janam, na sundarīṁ, kavitāṁ va jagadīśa kāmaye. Mama janmani janmanīśvare bhavatād bhaktir ahaitukī tvayi. Here is where the commentary of Sri Radha Govindanath ends on this particular verse. Now we have done most of the main commentators. Last time we saw the commentary of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, Sri Utsavanand, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sri Veer Chandra Goswami, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the songs of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. This time we saw the commentary of Sri Radha Govindanath. The main commentators are done. Srila Prabhupada has not written any commentary on na dhanaṁ, na janam, na sundarīṁ in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He has not written any commentary on that. But from time to time, in future talks, I will also keep quoting from Srila Prabhupada wherever there is a point connected to the verse. Anyways, let's begin, dear devotees. As it was specified that Mahaprabhu's humility increased. In the previous talk, it was specified Mahaprabhu's humility increased when he recited the previous verse, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna. He saw himself as unqualified for that particular position of Kirtaniyah Sada Harihi. And Mahaprabhu's humility, Mahaprabhu's dainya, self-pity increased. And it is a nature of prema. It is the nature of genuine prema towards Bhagavan Shri Krishna that humility increases. Here is the Chaitanya Charitamritam, and I am repeating this particular verse from the Chaitanya Charitamritam. Kahite kahite Prabhu dainya vadila Shuddha Bhakti Krishna Thai Magite Lagila. Kahite kahite, while reciting the previous verse, Dainya Vadila, Mahaprabhu's Dainya, humility, self-pity increased. Thus, Shuddha Bhakti Krishna Thai, Magite Lagila. Magite Lagila, he began to pray to Krishna for Shuddha Bhakti, for pure Bhakti. Now, why does this happen? Dear devotees, there is a reciprocal relationship between prema, between love of Bhagavan and Dainya and humility. Sri Sanatana Goswami in the Brihad Bhagavatamritam specifies this reciprocal relationship in two subsequent verses. These are the two verses, please hear carefully. Dainyam tu paramam premna paripakena janyate paripakena dainyasya premajasram vitanyate parasparam tayoritham karya karanatekshate. Dainyam tu paramam. Dainya, humility, self-pity, paramam, is its most exalted when premnaha paripakena janyate, when it comes forth, when prema reaches full maturity. Sri Sanatana Goswami explains in the commentary that even ordinary devotees who have not attained prema, they also feel some separation from Krishna. They also think about Krishna sometimes. And they also feel lowly that, oh, I am not qualified to attain Shri Krishna. But when the stage of prema is reached, this dainya, it reaches its full maturity. And then paripakena dainyasya, when dainya fully matures, prema ajasram vitanyate, prema unfolds without limit. And so, parasparam tayoritham karya karanata ikshate. And so we see that dainya and prema acting in a relationship in which each is both the cause and effect. What does this mean? Very simple diagram. Dainya, humility, leads to increased prema. So dainya becomes the cause, prema becomes the effect. And prema, in turn, leads to increased dainya. So prema also becomes the cause, and dainya becomes the effect. I hope you're able to understand. Humility becomes the cause of increased prema. Prema becomes the cause of increased humility. Humility becomes the cause of increased prema, and vice versa in both directions. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, can you please read the last sentence once again?
And so we see Dainya and Prema acting in a relationship in which each is both cause and effect.
Yes. Now we understand, dear devotees, what is the meaning of this particular statement. Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Shri Radha in Gambhira. Especially, he spent the final 12 years in Gambhira relishing the moods of separation from Shri Krishna. And when separation from Shri Krishna takes place, that is when Shri Krishna leaves for Mathura. And further for Dwarka, the separation stages of Pravas and Sudur Pravas, as they are known. This leads to Divya Unmad. This leads to transcendental state of madness and experience of the variegated moods of Mahabhav of Shri Radha. And in those variegated moods of Mahabhav of Shri Radha that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is experiencing, that is not ordinary prema. That is the highest limit of prema. And in that highest limit of prema, Shri Radha herself is willing to give up everything for the sake of attaining Shri Krishna. And therefore, dear devotees, Shri Radha says, Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarīṁ kavitāṁ. From Shri Radha's point of view, that, O Krishna, I do not want to attain any material wealth in this world. Na janam, I do not want my relatives. Na sundarīṁ kavitāṁ, nor do I want to exchange beautiful poetry with you anymore. Mama janmani janmani bhavatād bhaktir ahaitukī tvayi. Let me have this dedicated mood of prema towards you wherever I may take birth. This, dear devotees, is the mood of Shri Radha that she experienced when Bhagavan left for Mathura. And being abandoned by Krishna, obviously, these are not material emotions. These emotions are pure bhakti ras. So to be separated from Krishna obviously gives that impression, perhaps I was not worth it. And because I was not worth it, therefore he left me. And these emotions, dear devotees, give rise to dainya. Prema gives rise to dainya. Dainya in turn gives rise to more prema. So this is the infinite cause and effect loop of dainya and prema that Sri Sanatana Goswami has mentioned in the Brihad Bhagavatamritam. And it is a very beautiful understanding. Now, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of separation that Sri Radha had, might be uttering this particular verse in the Gambhira because he genuinely feels like it. What about us sadhakas who may go to our home temple every morning or who may go to our local temples every morning, and then we are singing Na dhanaṁ, na janam, na sundarīṁ kavitāṁ va jagadīśa kāmaye mama janmani janmanīśvare bhavatād bhaktir ahaitukī tvayi. And as soon as the morning program is done, then we are thinking about how much wealth, how should I manage my wealth today? How should I manage my relatives today? Dear devotees, it looks slightly contradictory. As it was specified, na dhanam, I do not want wealth. Wealth is one of the four purusharthas of life. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, which purushartha of life is na dhanam?
Artha.
Artha. Na janam, no relatives such as wife, etc., who give sense gratification. Prabhu, which purushartha does this refer to?
Kama.
Kama. Na sundarīṁ kavitāṁ va, no flowery poetry or flowery words of the Vedas which results in dharma. And Prabhu, this is which purushartha?
Dharma.
Mama janmani janmanīśvare, in each and every birth of mine. So I do not even want the fourth purushartha, which is moksha.
Moksha.
So all four purusharthas are declined in this particular verse. Dharma purushartha, artha purushartha, kam purushartha, and also moksha purushartha. I had shown this last time from the commentary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. But then there is something called as genuine realization, which is called as naisargik bhav in in Sanskrit, you can call it naisargika bhava. And then there is something known as forced realization, badhyata mulak bhava. When many of us utter this particular verse, na dhanaṁ, na janam, na sundarīṁ, do we utter this verse out of naisargik bhav, out of genuine realization? Or do we utter this out of badhyata mulak bhav, or out of a sense of forced realization that, yeah, maybe someday I will reach this particular point, but today I am not at this point. So, dear devotees, badhyata mulak, forcible realization will not easily bring us to this particular point. We need naisargika, genuine realization, and therefore it is very important to understand that no matter how many times we try to force a realization upon ourselves, just by forcing a realization, we will not be able to achieve a particular stage. In the Gaudiya Math, there was a famous Bengali phrase which they would use very often. Gadha pitaiya ghoda karite parena. By beating a donkey, you cannot turn him into a horse. It's a very important phrase. By beating a donkey, you cannot turn him into a horse. So, Gadha pitaiya ghoda karite parena. So, by beating a donkey, you cannot make it into a horse. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada also used to give another example, that by beating an unripe, a green mango with a stick, you cannot turn it into a ripe mango. In order for an unripe mango to turn into a ripe mango, the most important thing is, there are two things needed. First is that it should stay connected to the tree. It should have that proper warmth. And most importantly, it needs time. Devoid of time, devoid of the proper environment, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, can we beat a green mango into becoming a ripened mango? Please tell me.
No.
No, it's not possible. So similarly, you cannot beat a donkey into becoming a horse. Most individuals on this planet are not on the level of na dhanaṁ, na janam, na sundarīṁ. When we are reciting this particular verse in the morning, at best we can say that we are trying to support the mood of Mahāprabhu, although we may personally not be on this particular level of realization. So we are reciting the entire Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam simply to give pleasure to Śrī-Caitanya Mahāprabhu. We aspire for this, but currently we are utterly unable to follow this particular level of realization. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a very peculiar episode of Daksha and Narad Muni. Daksha Prajapati had 10,000 sons whom he wanted to involve in increasing the progeny of the universe. These were the Haryashvas. And they had gone to perform austerities to please Bhagwan and the various deities so that they can engage in dharmic progeny, in bringing progeny which will be favorable for dharma. But Narad Muni comes there and gives them lessons of renunciation. And those 10,000 Haryashvas, instead of producing progeny, they become renunciants. Now, because of the power of Narad Muni's association, they are able to circumvent very easily their material life and achieve genuine vairagya, genuine renunciation. Daksha is very unhappy with this Again, he produces 1,000 more sons who are known as Shabalashvas. The Shabalashvas, Narad Muni again tells them to follow the path of their brothers, the Haryashvas. The Shabalashvas also end up leaving household life and taking to renunciation. Now, Narad Muni is such a personality who has benefited the entire family of Daksha. Priyavrata Maharaj, Uttanpad, Dhruva, so many ancestors of Daksha have been benefited by Narad Muni. And Narad Muni also wanted to send all the sons of Daksha on the path of renunciation, and it was easily possible due to the powerful association of Narad Muni. But when Narad Muni visits Daksha, after that Daksha becomes very angry on Narad Muni. In fact, he starts critiquing Narad Muni, and here is the verse. Netam pumsam viragasya tvaya kevalinamrasha manyase yadyupashamam snehapasha nikrantaram. Prabhu, kindly read the translation.
Renunciation cannot in this way be generated in the minds of men by you, who have disguised yourself as an avaduta, although you have no knowledge. You are completely wrong if you think that renunciation and self-control automatically cut away the bonds of affection for material enjoyment.
So, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, please tell me, is there anything wrong in the logic given by Daksha?
No.
There's nothing wrong in the logic given by Daksha. Why then is Daksha portrayed as a negative character in this entire episode? The reason why Daksha is portrayed as a negative character is because of his offensive words. And the offensive words here are Kevalinam Risha. You who have disguised yourself as an avadhut, although you have no knowledge. So, due to his offense towards Narad Muni, Daksha Prajapati is portrayed negatively in this incident. Although, if he would have patiently sat down with Narad Muni and said that this is not how Vairagya is developed, Narad Muni too would not have disagreed with him. Actually, this is not the method of developing Vairagya. None of the commentators on this verse find any fault with the logic of Daksha. The only fault they find is with his offensive nature in which he is speaking these statements. So there is no fault with the logic that Daksha gives. But Narad Muni is an exceptional rishi. He was able to send all of them on the path of renunciation simply by his association. But other people cannot be sent like this unless a personality of the caliber of Narad Muni is present. Anyways, Daksha is not happy. Daksha further says, Nanubhuya na janati puman vishayate kshnataṁ nirvidyate swayam tasman natatha bhinnadhi parai. Prabhu, kindly read the translation.
A man cannot fully realize how the objects of sensual pleasure cause painful consequences without personally experiencing them. Therefore, someone who has directly experienced the pain of material enjoyment gives up that enjoyment naturally, whereas a person brainwashed by someone else for renunciation cannot achieve the same result.
So, Prabhu, can you tell me, is there anything wrong in the logic of Daksha here?
I think one could argue that by knowledge one can give up something without having to experience the pain.
Okay. But Daksha's statement here is one may be able to give up. In the previous verse, he said, but the attachment cannot be given up simply on the basis of theory. The attachment, for giving up the attachment, you need to experience that material life is actually painful. And a theoretical knowledge of pain can never be equal to an actual experience of pain. How about that?
Doesn't the attachment stay even after suffering?
Of course, it stays, but the attachment stays as a painful memory which the living entity wants to give up. See, Daksha's logic is very correct. It is not incorrect. Because if each and every person in the universe tries to renounce and get away from the material world just on the power of theory, will it be possible for the living entities in the world to achieve natural detachment by such a theoretical renunciation? Please tell me, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, is it possible?
No.
No, it's not possible. So Daksha's logic here is 100% correct. There is nothing wrong in his logic. He is speaking for those who are stuck in the material world. They have to gradually come out of it, and an immediate renunciation may not be possible. Of course, Daksha curses Narad Muni. Narad Muni accepts that curse happily. Narad Muni, not even for a single moment, tries to argue with Daksha. See, your position is wrong, my position is right. He never argues with Daksha. He knows that Daksha Prajapati is somewhere philosophically correct. If you uproot Varna and Ashramas, the 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas, and if you have only one Ashrama, then you are uprooting the entire Varnashram system. And you need to have Grihasthas who are following Dharma, Artha and Kam, the material goals of life. Otherwise, it will become impossible to have a proper system within the material world. So even Narad Muni doesn't want to uproot Varnashram by sending everybody on the path of moksha. Narad Muni knows Daksha's logic is 100% correct. Therefore, Narad Muni keeps quiet when Daksha curses him. But Narad Muni got a very good opportunity to bring all those sons of Daksha in direct contact with Bhagwan by the power of his realization. If it would be anybody else, perhaps they would not be able to achieve the same effect that Narad Muni achieved. Therefore, Daksha's statement is absolutely correct. But it doesn't really apply to Narad Muni because Narad Muni is also a very exceptional guru who can bring his disciples in direct contact with Bhagwan within a very short period of time. But regarding other gurus, regarding other personalities, the same effect may not be there. Therefore, what Daksha says is also correct. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan himself supports this particular stance of Daksha, where Bhagwan says, Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyacharah sa uchyate. Karmendriyani samyamya, restraining the senses of action. Only the external senses we restrain. Ya aste manasa smaran, but mind is dwelling on them. Externally, through the mouth, we say na dhanaṁ, na janam, na sundarīṁ. Externally, we are trying to restrain. Within the mind, we are saying yes dhanam, yes janam, yes sundarīṁ, yes kavitāṁ, kāmaye. If the mind dwells on the sense objects, such a person certainly deludes himself, vimudhatma, and is called mithyacharaha. Mithya acharo yasya is a pretender whose behavior is not correct. Dear devotees, this is Bhagwan's direct support to the stance which Daksha had given. The Daksha also had said, you cannot just renounce like that by externally just quitting the material world. And Bhagwan also says, if you quit, if you put on a garb of renunciation and you restrain the senses, but if your mind is still dwelling upon it, you are still not a genuine renunciant. Mithyachara sa uchyate. Sometimes people quote this verse from Narad Muni. It's there in the first canto. And it's a very powerful verse. Dāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, you might have seen this verse. Tyaktva swadharmam charanambujam harer bhajan pakvoth patet tato yadi yatra kvavabhadramabudamushahim kovartha apto bhajatam swadharmata. Tyaktva swadharmam, one who gives up his material occupation, one who gives up dharma artha kam, one who gives up living a material life, and charanam bhujam harer, and to engage in the devotional service of Bhagwan. Bhajan apakva athapatet, may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage. Patet also means mriyet, may sometimes die in an immature state. Not only fall down, but also may die in an immature state. Tato yadi, yet there is. Kvava abhadram. What is the danger of being unsuccessful? There is no danger for such a person. And ko va artha apto abhajatam swadharmata. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in his dharma, artha, kam, does not gain anything. So these verses are quoted often to say that you can give up the pursuit of material enjoyment and take immediately to dedicated bhakti. There is no loss even if you fall. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, there is no loss even if you fall. But would you like to fall? Please tell me.
No.
No. The verse says yadi. Sometimes it is possible that a person may give up his material duties. Narad Muni does not at all call such a person as a very mature person. Nowhere in the verse is it given that such a person is a very mature person. Narad Muni says maybe due to immaturity, a person gives up all material life in the very beginning. And because of that immaturity, because he's not completed his material life, therefore, patet, such a person falls. Now, if such a person falls, then definitely there will be a material reaction for falling. But there will be no loss as far as bhakti is concerned. His bhakti, her bhakti will be preserved. An example of this. For example, somebody is not suited for sannyas and immediately taking to sannyas and saying na dhanaṁ, na janam, na sundarīṁ, but takes up sannyas and after taking up sannyas, after some time falls down. The reaction of coming back from sannyas, definitely that reaction may be there. But the bhakti that such a devotee has performed will persist. So, although such a person may face the reaction for breaking the rules of sannyas, but there will be no loss as far as devotional service or bhakti is concerned. That bhakti, swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even though such a person may face some fear in the future for breaking sannyas, vows, but still bhakti will protect such a person. And therefore, dear devotees, this verse cannot be used as a generic verse for the entire human society that, come on the basis of bhakti, give up your material desires immediately and fall down later if you want. This is not a verse for putting the entire human society at risk. Please note this. In an exceptional case, maybe due to some immaturity, if a person falls due to having taken premature renunciation, there is no danger spiritually. Materially, they may get some reaction, but there is no danger spiritually for such a person. That is what this particular verse says. The mature conclusion, what mature people do in bhakti, is given within the Srimad Bhagavatam by Bhagavan himself. Bhagavan says in the 11th canto, स्वे स्वेऽधिकारे या निष्ठा सगुणः परिकीर्तितः. It is firmly declared that the steady adherence of transcendentalists to their respective spiritual positions constitutes real piety, and that sin occurs when a transcendentalist neglects his prescribed duty. Dear devotees, this is the mature conclusion. Majority of the society should follow this. This is what should be followed. Not that majority of the society follows this. Tyaktva swadharmam charanambujam harer bhajan pakvo dhapate tato yadi. If majority of the society starts following this, patet, there is a chance that majority of the society may fall. And Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, if majority of the society falls, will we have a proper society of devotees?
No.
No, we cannot have. Because there is a great risk in this particular verse from the material point of view. No spiritual risk. From the material point of view, there is a great risk in this particular line. And in this particular verse, there is no risk. Sve sve adhikare yanishtha sagunaha parikirtita. Adhere to your respective position and continue to push, continue to advance. And if you neglect your current position of current level of advancement, then there is definitely an issue. This is the mature conclusion of the Bhagavatam. Therefore, dear devotees, although Mahaprabhu in the mood of Shri Radha is saying na dhanam, na janam, na sundarīṁ, but for the sadhakas within this world, dhanam is prescribed by Narad Muni himself. In the 7th canto, for the householder, Narad Muni says, यावदर्थम उपासीनो देहे गेहे च पंडितः विरक्तो रक्तवत् तत्र नृलोके नरतान्यसेत्. Yavad artham upasino, while working to earn his livelihood as much as necessary to maintain the body and soul together. It's not that just bare bones, it means to maintain the family nicely, dear devotees. While working to earn his livelihood as much as necessary to maintain oneself. One who is actually learned should live in human society unattached to family affairs, although externally appearing very much attached. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, we were saying na dhanam. And for the grihastha, it is na dhanam or yes dhanam? What is it?
Yes, dhanam.
Yes dhanam. So in the morning, the grihastha is going to the temple and saying na dhanam. And Narad Muni comes and tells him, work to earn your livelihood so that you can maintain your family up to a decent standard of livelihood so that they can remain happily. Where is na dhanam? Where is the question of na dhanam for a grihastha? Like this. So, na dhanam in the absolute sense is not even recommended for the grihastha by the Srimad Bhagavatam, dear devotees. So, what is the meaning of na dhanam for the grihastha? So, dear devotees, please hear. Adhikarato adhikam na dhanam. Beyond my adhikar, I do not want any wealth. Please try to understand. This is na dhanam for the grihastha. Beyond what I am eligible for, beyond my ashram, beyond what my ashram allows, na dhanam. This is what is meant for the grihastha. After na dhanam comes na janam. I don't want any relatives. But in the 7th canto, Narad Muni specifies that a householder has to have relatives. ज्ञातयः पितरौ पुत्रा भ्रातरः सुहृदोपरे यद्वदन्ति यदिच्छन्ति चानुमोदेत निर्ममः. An intelligent man in human society should make his own program of activities very simple. If there are suggestions from his friends, children, parents, brothers, or anyone else, he should externally say, na janam. No, they are devotees. He should externally agree with them. He has to live with these people. He can't say, na janam, no relatives. He has to externally agree, saying, yeah, that's all right. But internally, he should be determined. not to create a cumbersome life in which the purpose of life will not be fulfilled. So, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu, for a grihastha, what is the meaning of na janam? No relatives or yes relatives?
Yes, relatives.
Yes, relatives. But no getting involved with the relatives in such a manner that your spiritual life will be spoiled. So, na janam for the grihastha means na adhikarato adhikam janam. No involvement with family members more than what is allowed within my adhikar. This is what is for the grihastha. Na sundarīṁ, beautiful spouse for the householder. And here is the author of the verse, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, saying in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Grihini vina griha dharma nahaya shobhana eta chinti vivahaka rite halamana. Grihini vina, without a wife, Lord Chaitanya considered, there is no meaning to householder life. Thus the Lord decided to marry. Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu Prabhu, this is the same personality who later said Na Sundarīṁ when he was in Gambhira. But when he is about to enter household life, is he saying Na Sundarīṁ or Yes Sundarīṁ? What is he saying?
Yes, sundarīṁ.
Yes Sundarīṁ. But Na adhikarato adhikam sundarīṁ. Beyond my adhikar is within the marriage, that I have one spouse within the marriage. Beyond that adhikar, I do not want to have any more spouse, anything outside of marriage. Na sundarīṁ. This is what is meant for the householder. Please try to understand this. Because if we try to artificially turn a green mango into a ripe mango by beating it, dear devotees, the result will be sheer disaster in society. Sheer disaster. Nothing else. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, therefore, in his Baul Sangeet, especially during his time, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur saw so many people had taken to premature renunciation. So many people. They were not qualified for taking the dress of a renunciant. Yet, they took to renunciation. And there were so many eager to leave their household life because household life was so troublesome for them. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sang in Baul Sangeet. Keno bhekere prayas, aya akal bheke sarvanash, akal bheke sarvanash. Ale chitta shuddhi tattva buddhi bheka apni se hai prakash. Akal bheke sarvanash. Keno bheker prayas. Why do you want to change to the clothes of a renunciant so soon? By premature adoption of renunciation, everything is destroyed. Akal bheke sarvanash. By premature adoption of renunciation, sarvanash, everything is destroyed. Hale chitta shuddhi. Only when one's consciousness is first purified. And how is it purified? Dear devotees, please remember what Daksha said to Narad Muni. Please remember what Daksha said to Narad Muni. When you go through material life in a dharmic manner, and when you offer everything to Bhagavan, dear devotees, by seeing the pains of the material world, a living entity naturally comes out of that material life. That is what happens. Hale chitta shuddhi. It's not just rotting inside household life. Household life dedicated to Bhagavan, but gradual realization of how everything is painful in the world, in material life. Haile chitta shuddhi. That's when the consciousness is purified. Tattva buddhi. Then the intelligence perceives transcendental truth. Oh yes, dukkhameva sarvam vivekina. Everything here is dukkha. Everything here is dukkha. And Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu, if a particular day comes when you realize that everything around you, all the enjoyments around you are actually dukkha, will you need to separately change your clothes, or are you already situated in natural renunciation? Please tell me. I think you're muted.
Already situated in natural renunciation.
Yeah. Already situated in natural renunciation. So that is what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Mahasaya is saying. Why are you so eager to come to the stage of na dhanaṁ, na janam, na sundarīṁ, kavitāṁ va jagadīśa kāmaye? Why are you beating a green mango? Akal bheke, by premature renunciation, sarvanash, everything is destroyed. Mahaprabhu is saying na dhanam na janam in the mood of Shri Radha. Of course, he will say in the mood of Shri Radha. We can also say to support that mood. But can we say for ourselves so soon? Think about it. Think about it. Can we say for ourselves so soon? Na dhanam, na janam, na sundari. Or na adhikarato adhikam dhanam. No wealth beyond my adhikar. Na adhikarato adhikam janam. No relatives beyond my adhikar. Na adhikarato adhikam sundarim. No spouse beyond my adhikar. This, dear devotees, is the mature position for somebody who is situated in householder life. Further, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings in Baul Sangeet. Jata din hriday shodhananay, gar chadle pare markat vairagi tare kai, vairagi tare kai. हृदय दोषे रिपुर बसे पदे पदे तार पतन है, पदे पदे तार पतन है. This is Baul Sangeet. You sing like a Baul. This is a different type of music in Bengal. So, Jata din hriday shodhananay. One who renounces his home while his heart is not yet purified. And is called Markat Vairagi Tareka. Is called Markat Vairagi, monkey like renunciate. Hridaya doshe, due to the heart being full of offenses. Ripurvashe, acting under the control of enemies such as lust. Pade pade tar patan hoy. At each and every step one falls. One may become a renunciant in a big group of devotees. But because there is no genuine realization behind that renunciation, one again becomes absorbed in dhanaṁ, janam, sundarīṁ. One becomes absorbed in that. Dear devotees. And because of being absorbed in that, pade pade tar patan hoy. At every step he falls. Oh, but Narad Muni had said there is no loss for him. Of course, there is no, I am again saying there is no loss spiritually. But from the material point of view, there is a fall down, there will be a reaction. And that reaction is severe for cheating one's own self. Therefore, dear devotees, there is no substitute to this honesty, to having complete honesty in one's own spiritual life. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur therefore says, Ghare base pakao nijer man, আর সকল দিন করো হরির নাম সংকীর্তন, হরির নাম সংকীর্তন, তবে চাঁদ বাউলের সঙ্গে শেষে করবি সংসার বিসর্জন, করবি সংসার বিসর্জন. ঘরে বসে পাকাও, while staying at home, make your mind mature and ripened in bhakti. Our sakal din karo Hari Naam Sankirtan, and just perform Hari Naam Sankirtan each and every day. Tabe Chand Baulers, then in Chand Baul is his pen name which he gave to himself in this literature. Then in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's company, you shall utterly renounce the material world. This is good renunciation. This is the renunciation that we need. We don't need false renunciants who come every day and say na dhanam, na janam, na sundarīṁ. And then after the Siksastakam is over, then they are calculating how much money, how many followers, and whether there is somebody beautiful whom I can look up to for making up or for having that sort of a relationship with such a person in the opposite gender, which I could not have within married life. Dear devotees, such type of renunciation is tremendously looked down upon. It is better to have an honest understanding of na dhanam na janam. Na adhikarato adhikam dhanam. No dhanam beyond my adhikar. Na adhikarato adhikam janam. No mingling with relatives beyond my adhikar. Na adhikarato adhikam sundarīṁ kāmaye. And no association of the spouse beyond my adhikar. Kāmaye. Mahāprabhu will be much more happy and pleased if we pray in an honest way like this, rather than artificially giving lip service and saying na dhanam, na janam, na sundari. I want zero dhan, zero jan, zero sundari. And then as soon as Siksastakam is over, within the heart we start pretending. So this is what is the honest path that we should walk upon. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur says there are four types of false renunciations, four types of false renunciants that exist in the world. The first is named Markat Vairagi, monkey-like renunciant. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur says these are people who, without having true detachment in their hearts, they desire to wander around dressed like ascetics. Why, dear devotees? Because to live like an ascetic, you just have to take care of yourself. You don't have any family responsibilities. So it's easy life. However, because their senses are not under control, they are constantly prone to committing wrongful acts. Mahaprabhu has termed those who merely wear the external symbols of renunciation as Markat Vairagi. This is the first type of false renunciant who says na dhanam, na janam, na sundarīṁ. But within his heart he has ha janam, yes janam, ha dhanam, yes dhanam, ha sundarīṁ, yes sundari. So this is the first type. The second, kapat vairagi, deceitful renunciate. These are cunning people who adopt the garb of renunciation, thinking that in big festivals and gatherings I will easily get delicious food with the Vaishnavas. No matter some illicit activities I perform now, after I die, Vaishnavas will honor me. They will, offer prayers to Bhagavan for me. I will attain, at least I will have a good afterlife because I lived my life like a Vaishnava, no matter I had some issues. And while I am alive, the householders will offer me food. And if I also need substances like ganja, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, you know what is ganja?
Marijuana.
Yeah. Bhang. Bhang is also one intoxicant. Opium, easily available for a sadhu. So those who adopt the ascetic garb with such motives are called kapat vairagi. Dear devotees, please see here the second type of false renunciant. Then Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, third is asthira vairagi, fickle renunciant. Momentary sense of detachment arises sometimes due to reasons such as quarrels with spouses, big headache with the spouse. Oh, I don't like my spouse. Better to run away from home. Distress, lack of money, couldn't earn nicely. Let's take to renunciation. Pain, inability to get married or couldn't find a spouse. Well, better to become a renunciant. Or death of a spouse. Those who adopt the garb of renunciation in the heat of such temporary emotions are called asthir, fickle vairagis. They lack genuine detachment and consequently they turn into kapat vairagis, deceitful renunciates. Finally, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur gives the fourth type, aupadhika vairagi, artificial renunciate. He says those who become unfit for the world, they can't work in the world outside, they can't work to earn money, and they are also under the influence of intoxicants, tamogun, mode of ignorance. By consuming these intoxicants and remaining in a state of stupor, they practice expressing a type of artificial Hari Bhakti. Often you will find such people telling you that, oh, after you take an intoxicant, I can't tell you how much you will be in contact with higher powers and Bhagwan. You know, sometimes such people will tell you, oh, after I started taking intoxicants, can't imagine how much of a nice devotee I became. So, so this is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur pointing it out. Or through practice, they artificially display external symptoms of devotion in front of ignorant human society. Or sometimes they become attached to material relationships. And by such attachment to material relationships, they attempt to attain pure attachment to Bhagavan. So they basically get attached to the opposite gender. And they think that the person in the opposite gender is a representative of the Supreme. And I can dovetail my material love to this person, and through this material love I will transcend and get some sort of a spiritual love of Bhagwan. So such people, by wearing the symbols of renunciation, become aupathic vairagya, artificial renunciation. Such renunciation is extremely lowly and harmful. So if these are four types of false renunciation, then what is true renunciation? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, yathartha vairagya, real renunciation, the detachment from worldly objects that arises naturally upon awakening of bhakti. First comes bhakti, then comes vairagya, is the true beauty of a devotee's life. To first adopt renunciation artificially and then search for devotion is unnatural and inauspicious. I will read this sentence again. To first adopt renunciation artificially and then search for devotion is unnatural and inauspicious. Maybe we can print this statement somewhere and make a quote out of it. Real renunciation is the ornament of men and women who have developed the stage of bhav. Oh, wonderful devotees. Bhav is the stage where real renunciation comes. One cannot consider renunciation a mere limb, anga of bhakti, but rather it is the resultant experience, anubhav of bhav bhakti. Renunciation is a side effect of bhakti. It's not the precursor to bhakti. It's not one of the 64 limbs of bhakti. In this way, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says how to be genuine on this particular path. This is in Chaitanya Shikshamrita. All the four types of false renunciants and what is genuine, yatharth vairagya, genuine renunciation. This is in Chaitanya Shikshamrita, fifth shower, second part. He has specified. Very wonderful instruction. Therefore, dear devotees, Mahāprabhu also, when Sri Raghunath Das Goswami came to him, Mahāprabhu told him. The first time Raghunath Das Goswami wanted to run away from home, and Raghunath Das Goswami also said, like you, I want to become na dhanaṁ, na janam, na sundarīṁ. Like you, I want to have that realization. Mahaprabhu's clear instruction. Stera haiya gareya, naha vatula, krame krame paeloka, bhava sindhu kula. Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu, kindly read the translation.
Be patient and return home. Don't be a crazy fellow. By and by, gradually, you will be able to cross the ocean of material existence.
Wonderful. So this is what Mahaprabhu said to Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. And it is because of this instruction that Sri Raghunath Das Goswami returned home, stayed like a genuine dharmic householder, waited for maturity to arise, and then left his home after maturity was attained. This way, dear devotees, before we get into discussing na dhanaṁ, na janam, na sundarīṁ, first and foremost, I wanted to put the verse in proper context for those who are householders. Na dhanam for a householder means na adhikarato adhikam dhanam. No wealth more than my adhikar in the grihastha ashram. Na janam, no relatives for a grihastha means na adhikarato adhikam janam. No dealing with relatives more than my adhikar. Na sundarīṁ, no spouse, no beautiful spouse for a grihastha means na adhikarato adhikam sundarīṁ. No association of a spouse beyond my adhikar. Kavitāṁ va, no beautiful poetry, which means na adhikarato adhikam kavitāṁ. No poetry which is not within my adhikar. That means poetry mainly for glorifying you, Bhagavan. Let me have that. So this is what is for a grihastha. And for a sannyasi who has taken to real sannyas, a sannyasi may sing na dhanaṁ, na janam, na sundarīṁ kavitāṁ va directly, jagadīśa kāmaye. But they should be on that particular level of understanding. Bhagavan will treat both the grihastha and the sannyasi equally due to their honesty. Bhagavan is not having a competition, a renunciation competition here. Bhagavan is having an honesty competition. See who is more honest. And the devotee who is more honest is the devotee who will be selected by Bhagavan for bhaktir ahaitukī tvayi, for having ahaitukī bhakti. Having said this, from next time onwards, I will get into the details. Na dhanaṁ. Why no dhanam? Why complete absence of dhana, wealth for a sannyasi? And why absence of wealth beyond one's adhikar for a grihastha is specified in the Siksastakam. But that discussion will start next time. Then we will go to na janam, na sundarīṁ, na kavitāṁ va. This is what we will gradually discuss one by one. But today I wanted to set the context of the verse for people who are situated in different ashrams. I'd like to thank all of you very much. Thank you, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu, so much for kindly being here. Yadatra skalitam kinchit vidvam sah purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tad guroreva me nahi. Yadatra skalitam kinchit. If there's any mistake that I made, vidvam sah, your learned devotees, purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit. But it's anything nice, please remember, tad guroreva. It belongs to my gurujanas, me nahi. It doesn't belong to me. Thank you so much, dear devotees. जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय. हिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल.
Hari Hari Bo! Thank you so much, dear Hari Parshad Prabhu, for a beautiful and enlightening class on the Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. It's so wonderful to be here and be absorbing all of the nectar from the previous acharyas that you're passing on to us through your diligent studies and very detailed explanations. So we're going to go now to questions and answers. And before we start, just like we always do, we have some guidelines and requests because it's not a open Q&A, but it's a very focused and, in a sense, disciplined Q&A. Before we explain those guidelines, if you're watching online and you'd like to join our live sessions, just send an email to the email address you see on the screen, siksastakam.hpd@gmail.com. Make sure it's spelled exactly as seen, and include your WhatsApp number and country code, and we will happily add you. As far as the guidelines go, we do enforce these, and they are only ask questions related to today's class. Keep your questions short for the sake of others. That means only ask one question at a time, then get back in line if you have further questions. 3, keep your questions simple and easy to understand. A great way to do that is to think ahead of time about exactly what you mean by your question so that it's clear in your mind. The clearer it is in your mind, the clearer it is to us when you express it. We don't have to spend a lot of time deciphering what you mean. 4, no questions about any particular person or institution. That means that we don't ask questions which seek to hold a particular person or institution accountable to some philosophical or ethically normative standard. 5, we appreciate an informal tone and mood. Anything else to add, Prabhuji?
Yeah, this session of talks on Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam is completely informal. After completing the series of talks, there will be no certificates issued to anybody. So there is no degree to be attained after going through the series of talks. So neither the speaker has any degree on Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam, nor is the speaker going to issue any degrees or certificates to the listeners. It's a completely informal course meant purely for diving into Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our first question is from Purushottam Prasad Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. Thank you so much for deep analysis on this particular verse. And as you said last week, you clarified the four Purusharthas. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in one of the slides you mentioned, which is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni says externally we have to say yes, but internally we have to say no. For a Vaishnava to make that duplicity or kapata, is it allowed? Or the Guru is teaching how, I didn't understand how we can be in duplicity with our own parents.
Okay, so the question is, for a Vaishnava, how is
Yeah.
duplicity allowed?
Yes.
Well, duplicity is allowed for a Vaishnava in order to protect their bhakti. There is a verse which Sri Jiva Goswami quotes in the Bhakti Sandarbha, and I am going to show this particular verse, which is which he quotes in the Bhakti Sandarbha. I am sharing my screen. You can have a look at this particular verse. In the Bhakti Sandarbha, Sri Jiva Goswami quotes a verse from the Padma Puran which says, Man nimittam kritam papam apikshemaya kalpate mamanadritya dharmopi papam syanmat prabhavatah. Bhagwan's statement. Man nimittam kritam papam. Any so-called unwholesome, sinful activity done for the sake of increasing my bhakti, apikshemaya kalpate, will actually protect you, will not go against you. Mam anadritya, but rejecting me, dharmopi, any so-called religiosity or truthfulness, papam syat mat prabhavata, will ultimately turn into a negative activity by my arrangement.
Jai.
This is
Beautiful.
I will give you another example of this. When Sri Sanatana Goswami, he wanted to take leave of Nawab Hussain Shah permanently. But Nawab Hussain Shah will not let Sri Sanatana Goswami go away because he's such an important resource in the kingdom. Traditionally in Vedic culture, a king is considered as a representative of Bhagavan.
Yes.
So Sri Sanatana Goswami told Nawab Hussain Shah, I am sick, I want a sick leave. And for many days, he took a sick leave and he was staying at home and he was bringing these 20-30 pandits together and he was discussing Srimad Bhagavatam in his courtyard.
Yes.
So Prabhu, tell me, was Sri Sanatana Goswami speaking the truth or was he speaking lies?
is doing for the higher cause can speak lies. That is my understanding.
Yeah. No, just be honest. Was it truth or was it lies? What was he speaking to Nawab Hussain Shah?
He's telling lies. Yeah.
Of course he's telling lies.
Yes.
So what is the justification for speaking such lies? So I have given you the justification from Bhakti Sandarbha.
Beautiful.
Right?
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Next we have Devesh Agarwal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
My pranams.
Thank you for the lecture and I hope your आपकी तबीयत ठीक होगी जाके.
Yeah, my health is good. Yes, please ask the question. Yes.
So my question is regarding that, as Narad Muni says in the verse that we should externally say yes, but sometimes what happens, we can't say no too many times. Yes, and the person will like take us with him or her us only. Sometimes we go to the relatives, or sometimes it is not possible to like externally say yes. Like we will try, but we will get somehow or the other involved only. So what I try to avoid going to such occasions, but it is also not possible to totally avoid them. So what should be done in such cases?
In the original Sanskrit, it says cha anumodeta. It says you should say okay, neither yes nor no. Literally, it means you should say okay. So okay means you neither said yes nor you said no. So in most cases, it is best to say, okay, I'll think about it. Okay, I'll think about it. And if it doesn't agree with the principles of spiritual life that you have accepted, you may decide not to do it. And if it agrees with the principles of spiritual life you have accepted, you may say yes sometimes. So you can say yes sometimes, no sometimes. But publicly, you can say, okay, I'll think about it. Definitely, I'll think about it. Like that. This is the meaning of the verse. Right?
Okay.
See, you also said okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Next we have Bhagavat Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I audible?
Yeah.
First of all, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for compiling all these commentaries together. Thank you very much for all your hard work. So, Prabhuji, my question was: after hearing so much glories of celibate life and the Vairagya Marg, it sometimes becomes difficult to think about being a grihastha. But it is also a fear of mine that what if after become a brahmachari for life, uh, I get into the material life again. It becomes a fear, and I don't know how to decide for myself what will be the correct choice, because I don't understand yet what is my correct swabhav. But I also want to know as soon as possible, because I think I don't have that much time uh, before I have to take decision. So
Sure.
how can I?
Sure. See, usually we might have heard glories of renunciation, and perhaps this is for the first time, or these may be very few talks in which you are hearing the dangers of premature renunciation. These quotes by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and there are many more quotes, are usually not brought out in public so often. And I often say this, that it is my job to bring out these quotes because devotees should understand all the sides of the equation before making a decision. What happens is, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, one becomes a kapat vairagi very soon. What is a kapat vairagi? Externally, he is dressed as a renunciant, but inside he has fallen into that network of dhanaṁ, janaṁ, sundarīṁ. And now, because he's a member of a big group, so he has to maintain that facade. You know what a facade, that external mask. So he has to maintain that facade of being a renunciant externally. And many decades pass like this. And while maintaining a facade of bhakti externally, somewhere that bhakti lata dies within the heart. And when that bhakti lata within the heart dies, people are externally honoring you. Oh, Bhagavad Prabhu, you are such a big, tyagi, you are such a big renunciate. Please come and have prasad at our home. Please come and honor this particular event. And you're going there for social purposes. Deep within you, you know that it's just a dress. And I have not actually made any progress in the direction of having a personal relationship with Bhagavan. So that realization dawns after many decades of going in the wrong direction. And then there are those who are not meant for married life. Not everybody is meant for married life. There are those who are never meant for married life, who can't stay with a spouse, whose natural inclination is to not be married, but family forces them to marry. So this used to happen earlier. Like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when he was like maybe 11 or 12 years old, his family married him. And when his family married him, obviously at that time, when you're 11 or 12 years old, you accept the family arrangement, whatever was done was done. But when he became around 15 or 16 years of age, he left his family life because he knew that I did not select this life. I did not, it was nothing, I had nothing to do with this. And I don't want to be married. I don't want to be. That he had that clarity in his mind. I don't want to be in this particular responsibility. And I have attachment to Bhagwan. I want to live the life of a detached sadhu. So he went. And this was with Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti. Now see with Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. He was married and wanted to leave. And Mahaprabhu told him, go back. Now is not the time. So what is medicine for one may be poison for another. Please try to. This is a very delicate situation. And therefore, it is needed that a very broad-minded Vaishnava who knows our situation, who knows our nature, or a broad-minded family member, elderly family member, who is neither against Vairagya, nor against family life, who will see neutrally if there is such a family member. Then either such a family member or such a Vaishnava should analyze our tendencies and give a recommendation to us accordingly. That is the only way of making such a decision properly. So that is my answer to you. Right? Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have a question.
Yeah.
I suppose it's a kind of a humble counter argument, which I would like to hear your response to. You said that a mango can't be ripened by beating. You also said that by suffering in the material world, we become renounced. And so it leaves me wondering what kind of suffering is indicated by this beating. It makes the claim seem like you can't beat yourself to be renunciated, but if the material world beats you, then you become renounced. So
Yeah.
it becomes more of a claim about the instrument than the method or the mechanism of becoming renounced.
Yeah. So the material world doesn't simply beat you. The material world also gives you a lot of material happiness. And in the process of that material happiness, you also get distress. While in the previous sessions, I had spoken about Patanjali Muni, and he says there are three types of dukkha, three types of misery. Parinam dukkha, tap dukkha, samskar dukkha. Parinam dukkha is something starts off very nicely, gradually turns into misery. That is called parinam. For example, two people got married to each other, very nice, they're having a very nice life. After 2 years, one of them develops cancer and loses all their hair. So started off very nicely and nobody's fault, but it has turned into something difficult. So the person will still continue married life, but now the experience is no longer the same. But his desire of getting married was satisfied. The initial happiness that he or she wanted from married life is satisfied. So Maya did not simply beat him. It's a very wrong representation of Maya when we say Maya just beats you. It's a very incorrect representation of Maya. Maya also gives that happiness which is needed to convince you that, oh, I lived my life in the way I wanted to. Now, compare this to somebody coming to you and saying, don't get married, but stay unmarried. Otherwise, there will be a lot of suffering. If you get married, there will be a lot of suffering. And you have to accept his words on a theoretical basis, not on the basis of practical experience. And then you beat yourself with the theory. So you beat yourself with the theory and you have nothing positive to give yourself, no positive material happiness to convince yourself. So that is the difference between getting convinced by experience and getting convinced by theory. Now, getting convinced by theory is also good if you have experiences from past life. If the experiences from past life are so powerful that in this life, simple theory is enough for you. You don't need to experience something directly. But if simple theory is not sufficient for you, and the mind is again and again saying, no, I can't simply stay alive on this path on the basis of some theoretical understanding of renunciation. Then an experience is definitely needed. Even with sages like Kardam Muni, he was so honest. He could have gone his entire life without getting married. But he said, I have one desire, and I wish to dharmically satisfy that desire, that I wish to get married. And that honesty is what got him Bhagavan's favor. Bhagavan was so pleased. Bhagavan appeared as his own son. And that Kardam Muni is much better than that Saubhari Muni, who in the beginning denied getting married and later got married 50 times. So this is what I would like to say. Hope that is satisfactory to you.
Thank you. Yes, I think I understand.
Yeah.
Someone might bring up that quote that the most intelligent person hears and doesn't have to experience. The next person
Yeah.
has to suffer to learn.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is that it's not just that someone lacks intelligence and therefore they have to suffer, but there's actually a completion of desire that comes with
Yeah.
becoming a householder or things that you kind of quote unquote get that out of your system, but you also kind of learn by experience that the good comes with the bad, and you're able to move beyond that in an organic way. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And for somebody who has that samskar from previous life, so I don't want married life. For them, the best first class thing is to listen and hear some instruction and then follow it. But for somebody who doesn't have those previous samskars, the first class thing to do is to experience it once. That is what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Our next question is from Kokila Mataji.
Koti Dhanvat Pranam Prabhuji. My danvats to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis present here. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Just wonderful to hear from you. And you're enriching our lives so much, and I cannot express my gratitude enough to you. Prabhuji, my question is that as a Grihastha, it is our responsibility to support the renunciates. But if you have these four kinds of renunciates who are roaming around in the world, then how are we going to, give charity to a perfect renunciate and not being cheated? Because once you're cheated, your trust is broken, and always at the back of your head, it's like, oh, whether there is a mistrust that is, constructed, and you are spectacled to look towards everyone with that conception or perception that you've made. And that is also an offense then, right? So I just want to understand more from you how we can protect our Bhakti Lata Bij from this kind of hypocrisy in this world. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Right. So the thing is, there are many renunciates who come. A Grihastha's duty is to support a renunciate. I'll tell you one thing. Traditionally, a renunciate comes to beg for food, not to beg for money. That's just giving the absolute traditional standard. Please, sorry if I'm not saying this to disturb anybody. Madhukari is the traditional practice of a renunciate. And the meaning of Madhukari is that the renunciate goes to 4 or 5 homes of Grihasthas, and the Grihasthas give him food for that day or max for the next day. That's it. That's what is renounced life. Now, we might have changed those definitions for the sake of convenience in the modern day and age. So, a Grihastha should give to the renunciate as much as judiciously, as much as will be required for the renunciate to maintain the body and soul together. And it is better to give dravya. Dravya is grains, pulses, something like that is preferred over giving money. I'm specifying the traditional standards. Of course, you may also want to give some money to a renunciate. Some grihasthas go beyond their, they are very, very broad-hearted. Srila Prabhupada's father, Prabhupada often said that his father would invite the various sannyasis from various renunciates. He would also give them ganja. So there is a, I am sharing, Prabhupada said in a morning walk, they came here. I've got so many students, they came here for spiritual enlightenment, but they learned ganja smoking and keeping high big beard. There is a sannyas ashram in Delhi. People also contribute them ganja. Not only they, I know my father, he was also attached to so many sannyasis. So in Kalighat, there was a sannyasi. So he says, he was regular sannyasi, but my father was giving them saffron cloth and ganja. People accept that this is one of the items for them. So see, some grihasthas go out of their way to give something like that to sadhus. But as a strict Vaishnava, we should ideally avoid giving something to a renunciate which will destroy or hamper his spiritual practice. So therefore, better to give dravya. Dravya is, some clothes, some food items, something like, or maybe some money. But don't overflood the renunciate with money, because that will certainly cause a disturbance to the renunciate. So that is what I can say in this regard. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
I guess you could test them by seeing what they accept.
Yeah. I mean, see, the thing
Here's
is,
some ganja, Maharaj.
no, no. An atithi, a guest, a guest is, we cannot test a guest, but because for us, a guest is a representative of Bhagavan. But if we know the nature of a particular atithi, if we know the nature of a particular guest, and if that nature is non-devotional, maybe we can only give something which will not hamper their bhakti further. That is what I'd like to say.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Next we have Paramakaruna Prabhu.
Easy questions only, Prabhu.
Simple and easy to understand, right?
Very naive, novice, and stupid, as will be evident once I ask it. Can you kindly show that, or just tell the Anucheda number for that Bhakti Sandarbha?
Sure. I will share my screen with you, and we will go trace the Anuched number. So here is that verse, Man Nimittam Kritam Papam, all right? It says above Padmecha in the Padma Puran. And let's check out it is 148 in, so that is what it is. That's the question?
Yeah, I have another question, but I'll wait, come back again.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Next we have Vishaka Mataji. Are you there, Vishaka Mataji?
Yes.
All right.
Sorry.
There she is.
Yeah. Sorry, I was driving, figuring it out. And I have a question, and I'm not sure if it is related to the class or not. If it is not, then you can just skip it. And first of all, thank you so much, Hari Parshad Prabhu, for speaking on these topics, because currently I'm doing counseling, and it really helps me to connect our scriptures and our teachings with the practical life. And also, my question is related to my son. He's like 23 years old, and it is related to Grihastha ashram, because he's in love with the girl who is from Mexico and strong Catholic. And
sorry to interrupt. Is it a philosophical question? Because most personal situations are so complex, it's very difficult to give an adequate answer in class.
Got it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, Mataji, I think it is better you send a message personally, to so that instead of dealing with a personal question on a public platform, we can deal with it in a personal manner, Mataji, because this seems to be a query involving somebody's personal life.
Yes, sir. So then, where would I send that question to?
Mataji, you can in the Siksastakam Q&A group, you can find my or Siksastakam group, you can find my WhatsApp contact, and perhaps you can send it to me personally. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhu, we'll do that. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for your understanding. Next we have Anita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for the wonderful class again. So much of nectar. My question, Prabhu, is what should my mood be when I recite verses or prayers by such elevated devotees, right? Like about Siksastakam, or even the thought that came to my mind was about Queen Kunti's prayers, where she prays Vipada Santuthas Ashwat. So I know I'm not at all eligible to create or make any verses of prayers to Bhagwan. All I can do is repeat what such elevated devotees and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has composed for us, right? But should I pray to Bhagwan? Does it make sense for me to ask for internalizing these verses, or what should my prayer be, right? Or should it just be appreciation? Or thank you, Prabhu.
So the best mood is to offer these prayers for the pleasure of Mahaprabhu. That is the best thing to do. That Siksastakam, it is best to sing for the pleasure of Mahaprabhu, because he's in the mood of Sri Radha. He can appreciate these prayers as it is without any adjustments. His mood is naturally aligned with these prayers. And when we sing for the pleasure of Mahaprabhu, even Mahaprabhu used to love hearing Dhruva Maharaj's episodes from Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj's episodes, various episodes like the ones you mentioned, Kunti Maharani, etc. So Mahaprabhu always loved to hear these prayers from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So let's sing for his pleasure. And we can pray to Bhagwan. If any of this prayer is applicable to me, or if any of this I can practically execute in my life according to my adhikar, please bless me with that realization. So that would be very nice. So sing for the pleasure of Mahaprabhu and pray to them that if there is any part of this prayer which I can naturally execute within my adhikar, then please give me this seva of living up to that particular aspect of the verse, so that we can say to God. All right? Thank you so much. Right.
Next we have Ishtopanishad Mataji. Are you there, Ishtopanishad Mataji?
Jai, Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Jai, I wanted to ask, the Grihastha ashram is very important, and I understand that it's a necessity. But could you explain or share the reason why the Lord Mahaprabhu decided to become married? Was it because of his mother, or was he just wanting to just honor the ashram, do the right thing by it? Could you share a little bit about that?
Okay, why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decide to get married? The reason is, in various incarnations of Bhagwan also desires to execute pastimes within household life, within family life. It is called Naralila. Naralila means human-like pastimes. In human-like pastimes, Bhagwan will also have human-like desires. Although Bhagwan is not a human, Bhagwan is transcendental. But when he is executing human-like pastimes, so the pastimes will not be human-like if the desires are not human-like. So he also exhibits human-like desires. For example, Krishna Leela is also Nara Leela, human-like pastime. So Bhagwan in Krishna Leela also decided to marry so many times. So many times. Ram Leela is also Nara Leela, human-like pastime. In Ram Leela too, he decided to marry. Narsimha Dev is not human-like pastime. It is half human, half animal. So there was no formal marriage ceremony of Narsimha Dev. He just appeared from a pillar and then did his Leela and disappeared. So all human-like pastimes such as Ram, Krishna, Mahaprabhu, most of them, Bhagavan also exhibits some human-like desires so that human beings can listen to his pastimes and derive lessons in their personal lives. So that is what Bhagavan is doing here. So I hope that answers your query to some degree of satisfaction.
Yeah, Haribol.
Thank you.
My other question, one more question that I wanted
Can we
to.
come back to you, Mataji?
Sure, you can.
We do
Haribol.
have one question at a time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for understanding. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
please keep your hand raised so we will come back to you.
Thank you for giving the links, Parma Karuna Prabhu. Do you want to ask your other question now?
Sure. Thank you for second chance.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. Prabhuji,
Yeah.
You can mute Ishu Upanishad Mataji. Right.
Yeah, we are muted. Yeah.
Prabhuji, you said there are four types of vairagis. What was the difference between the subtle difference I couldn't get between the first and the second Markat, and I forget what was the name of the second
Kapat.
one.
Markat and Kapat. Markat is somebody whose senses are not under control. That is the person. His senses are not under control.
Okay, got it. Mm-hmm.
So on the gross level, he is not able to control his senses. But still he takes to the dress of a renunciate. Why? Because it's easier to live life that way without responsibilities. Kapat is, it's not so much of an issue with sense control, but an issue, he has this deceitful mentality that I don't want to really take responsibility for anything. It's better to just feed off the other people in life and, be recognized and be garlanded and be honored in the society, so on and so forth. That is Kapat, is more of that. Although Kapat Vairagi may later also develop material desires in the form of gross desires. But usually Markat Vairagi has gross desires right from the very beginning. That's outright material desires. So that is the difference.
Got it. Thank you so much for such clear explanation, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Next we have Devesh Agarwal Prabhu. Oh.
Thank you for the second chance. My question is this time is that I see that one is not like totally on the renounced stage and not having desires also, because like when one becomes a devotee, like I am talking in as per my experience, that sometimes the major desires are gone, but some of them are still there, and then going into the grihastha ashram seems a lot of pain, like on the face of it. Like we study verses from, like I've seen one of your lectures, and after that I started reading the Sanskrit of Bharti Hari and many others. Like, so on the face of it, and many other Sanskrit commentators as well. So on the face of it, it looks very painful, and like most of the desires are gone, because the main mediums of enjoying life seems fruitless, but still some desires are there. So what should be done in that case? Also, Patanjali Muni, it's a two-part question, and Patanjali Muni states that there is a gradation in Vairagya, like
So I think let's take the first part, because it seems like so. For individuals whose material desires are not fully, they're not fully free of material desires, yet at the same time, they don't want to fully dive into material life. What should be done? See, as long as material desires for dharma, artha, kam are present, the grihastha ashram is the ashram specified for an individual. Now you can decide that when you wish to enter grihastha ashram, what is the nature of the spouse that you are expecting? Because some people get into the grihastha ashram with a particular spouse who's fully immersed in material life. and they get the full experience of material life in that grihastha ashram. And then some people enter into grihastha ashram with a sadhu or a sadhvi. With a man or a lady, a girl may enter into a grihastha ashram with a man, or a man may enter into grihastha ashram with a girl who is of the nature of a sadhu. So the temperature of grihastha life is already on the minimum in such grihastha arrangements. So it is grihastha life, but grihastha life along with a sadhu. And there's a very nice verse in the Bhagavatam about living grihastha life with a sadhu. And I will share my screen. It says in the 3rd canto, Sango yaha samsriter hetu asatsu vihito adhiya sa eva sadhushu krito nisangatvaya kalpate. 3:23:55 of Bhagavatam. Association for sense gratification. If you do it with a materialist, complete outright materialist, is certainly the path of bondage. But the same type of association, if you do it with a sadhu, it leads to the path of liberation, even if performed with knowledge. So there is a very big difference between getting married to a materialist and getting married to a sadhu or a sadhvi. And once you get married to a person who has the nature of a sadhu or sadhvi, then your expectations of material life are also less. Their expectations of material life are also less. You clarify your material desires with each other, and this is what I will be happy with. The other person also says, this is what I'll be happy with. An honest agreement of what we need, and then you can move ahead, and then the temperature of you don't have to suffer as much as the karmis suffer in the world outside. Of course, some suffering, little suffering is always there, but that is nothing compared to the honesty and the stability of having grihastha ashram with a sadhu or with a sadhvi. So I hope that answers your query to some degree of satisfaction. Does it answer your query? Please tell me yes or no, and then
Yes, Prabhuji.
yeah.
But
So if it answers your query, if you have some further clarification, you can wait in the queue. We will come back to you. Okay. Thank you.
I have a question in the chat, and before I read it, I just want to praise this question because it's very well written. A lot of times when we ask questions, we know what we're thinking because we're in our own heads, but we don't realize that our teacher doesn't know what we're thinking. And so that's why it's really important that the words of the question itself have to fully convey the meaning of the question and not just partially, so that the person answering the question has to read your mind. This question does an excellent job of
who's asked the question?
The question is by Prabhu.
Okay.
So he says, sometimes we see devotees who practice sincerely and steadily, but later unfortunately discontinue their sadhana, and externally they seem unable to regain their former taste, conviction, or realization. In such cases, what exactly is preserved? When Krishna says there is no loss, nehabri kramanashosti, what is the true meaning of that preservation, especially amid apparent regression?
All right. So the question is that sometimes devotees practice nicely for some time. Later, unfortunately, they discontinue their sadhana and they are unable to regain their former taste. What exactly is preserved for them? So the answer to this question is very simple. In the Bhagavad Gita, there are two types of such yoga bhrashtas mentioned. The first one is one who gives up after little practice. And the second one is one who, after long practice due to some unfortunate reason, gives up the path. So there are two types of yoga bhrashtas mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. One who gives up after little practice, one who gives up after long practice. The one who gives up after little practice, so that sukriti or that devotional piety is there, which will automatically bring him to the path of bhakti in the next human life. And the person who has given up after long practice, only a little bit of advancement is needed, and a little bit of doubts need to be resolved. Once those doubts are resolved, that person becomes fully purified. So what remains is the level of advancement. Ādau Shraddha, Tatah Sadhu Sango, Atha Bhajan Kriya, Atha Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha Ruchi. Stage that you attained in the previous life of bhakti is what remains with you in the next life. So somebody who has attained the stage of Bhava Bhakti, like Bharat Maharaj had attained, but due to some misfortune, he could not continue to advance to Prema. So next life also he is continuing with Bhava Bhakti. So your level of advancement in Bhakti from Shraddha to Prem, whichever level you are, that level is preserved in the next life. You start from that level and immediately start progressing from that particular point of time. So you immediately get a sadhu, a very nice sadhu, and you immediately come to the stage of realization that you were in the previous life. So that is what is preserved. So that is the answer to the question.
Thank you so much. I'll leave the question in the chat for others to see as an example.
Yeah.
This next name, I hope I say it correctly. Please correct me if I don't. Alap Aher Prabhu.
Yeah, Alap Prabhu.
Alap.
Yes, Prabhuji, rightly outspoken. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for your Shrikarni. Prabhuji, you mentioned very nice example from humility and prema, this connection. So I would like to know the perfect description of humility, because in love, material love is different, spiritual love is different. So is this humility also different in spiritual world, or is the same material humility what we consider? So I would like you to emphasize a little bit on it. Thank you.
Yeah. So the spiritual, or what is there in the material world in relationships, is not exactly humility. It's not the correlationship between love and humility does not exist in the material world. Only in relationships in the spiritual world do you have this particular nature of humility. And Sri Rupa Goswami describes in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu man shunyata, lack of any pride, and he gives utkrishtepi amanitvam kathita man shunyata. Utkrishtvetvepi, although one is the topmost in all aspects, amanitvam, the one does not genuinely, not farcically, not for making a show in front of hundreds of people, within one's mind. This is very important. Within one's mind, one doesn't consider oneself as worthy at all. That is called manashunyata. That is called genuine humility, according to Srila Rupa Goswami. Utkrishtvatvepi. It's not that you are so fallen and you are, of course, I am fallen, so speaking the truth. And that is one level of humility. But the best is that although you are the topmost, but still, prema makes you consider yourself very lowly, very lowly. And that is not out of social pressure. That is not because somebody has given you a lecture on humility and has told you that you should practice this. That is because you genuinely felt that you lost your object of love. You lost your object of love. And now I can't explain it in words so much, but you are about to gain the association of your love, Shri Krishna. And for some reason you could not gain. For some reason you could not gain. I'll just give you a very small example, Allah Prabhu. For example, Narad Muni's previous life. He attains the stage of bhav. And picture yourself in a similar situation. You've attained the stage of bhav. And you're meditating on Bhagwan. And Bhagwan, you hear Bhagwan's voice. And gradually you see Bhagwan in your heart. And the first thing that Bhagwan says is, Hantasmin janmani bhavan. Alas, in this life you will no longer be able to see me. You will no longer be able to see me in this life. Because those who have little material desires remaining, they can hardly see me. So Allah Prabhu, you tell me, if you hear such a voice from Bhagwan, how are you going to feel?
Absolutely sad.
But oh, you at least heard Bhagwan's voice. The rest of us haven't even heard his voice. So you should feel on top of the world. Yes or no?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you should feel on top of, you should feel happy that at least I heard Bhagwan's voice, and these rest of these lowly people didn't even hear Bhagwan's voice. But imagine yourself in that situation. Are you going to feel happy, or are you going to feel tremendously distressed? What are you going to feel?
Tremendously distressed.
Utkrishtatvepi, although you are very highly qualified, that you heard Bhagwan's voice, like Narad Muni in previous life. Amanitvam, still you feel I lost everything. I lost everything. Kathita mana shunyata. This is humility. It's only truly expressed in a relation, in an active relationship with Bhagwan. Humility is not a show that you make in front of hundreds of people. That's not humility. That's a farcical pretense. Humility is actually in a relationship of prema with Bhagwan. That is where humility is shown. Sri Rupa Goswami did not say that you show humility in front of hundreds of people. Your lowliness that you feel in your prema with Bhagwan is what the rest of the society sees. I hope you're able to understand. So that is what the rest of the society sees. It's not that, oh, with the rest of the society, I pretend to be humble, although I have zero relationship with Bhagwan. That's not humility. Humility is when that lowliness due to not attaining Bhagwan's association, it boils out in your day-to-day dealings. And so you may be the biggest and most knowledgeable person on this planet, but because you say, oh, I couldn't attain Bhagwan, I couldn't attain Bhagwan, I couldn't attain Bhagwan. So because of that, you feel that I am the lowliest person on this particular planet. And there is a very nice example of this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Shri Madhavendra Puri is is experiencing separation from Bhagwan, and he just says that he utters that particular verse, that kada avalokyase mathura nath kada avalokyase hridayam twadaloka kataram taita bhramyati kim karomyaham. He utters that particular verse, and he says, oh, I lost Krishna, oh, I lost Krishna. And when his disciple Ramchandra Puri, he sees, oh, why are you crying like this? You should study Vedanta. Why are you crying like this, like a sentimental sannyasi? Madhavendra Puri puts it, why did I get such a disciple? Get out of here. Get out of here. So this is what, Madhavendra Puri, although he has all departments of knowledge within his mind, but he's seeing that, Taita Brahmyati Kim, I lost everything. I lost everything. That's dainya. That's genuine humility. Not the farcical Hare Krishna Prabhu, how are you? And having crookedness in the mind. That's not genuine humility. Genuine humility is in a relationship of prema with Bhagwan. And no matter, I want to emphasize this as much as possible, because let's not make our humility farcical. That, oh, when you come in front of a devotee, you have to change yourself. That's not humility. If you have to change yourself when you come in front of a devotee artificially, that's not humility, dear Prabhu. Humility is when your relationship with Bhagwan makes you feel lowly because of having missed the association of Bhagwan, and that naturally boils over in your day-to-day dealings with the other devotees. That is what humility is. Okay, so I hope that answers your query. Thank you.
Brilliant, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Humility is an interesting value because, I mean, if we think of it as being a servant of Krishna, that's something we directly aspire to. But if you think of it as being lowly and unqualified, well, we don't aspire to be lowly and unqualified. We aspire to be qualified. So it seems like it's meant to be a kind of aspirational quality, that there's a gap between our perceived personal qualifications and where we want to be. And we keep that gap open perpetually because it moves our bhakti forward, even at very high stages of realization.
Right. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Next we have Bhagavat Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, for allowing me a second chance. Prabhuji, in the previous session, you quoted the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, in which the Purusharth are termed as cheating propensities because they because desires having desires while practicing bhakti is termed as cheating propensity. So how to reconcile that we have to also fulfill dharma, arth, kam, and there in Srimad Bhagavatam it is termed as cheating propensity, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada also said that it's termed it is cheating to desire, it is cheating to I'm sorry, I cannot find the words to properly explain this, but I just want clarification there. Here we have discussed the importance of dharma, arth and kam and the grahastha ashram, and there that was termed as cheating propensity. How to reconcile these?
Wonderful. Dharma, artha, kama and moksha all are declared as cheating in the Bhagavatam. Moksha is not also excluded. Moksha is not spared. Moksha is also given the same treatment in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, why do I say that moksha is also given the same treatment in the Bhagavatam? Because Srila Sridhar Swami specifies moksha bhi sandhirapi nirastha. I am sharing my screen first so that we can see. Pra shabdena moksha bhi sandhirapi nirastha is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 1.93. That by the prefix pra in the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, projjita, the desire for liberation is also completely rejected. Prabhupada says in the purport, this is an annotation by Sridhar Swami, the great commentator on Bhagavatam. On which verse? On Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2. On this verse, dharma projjita, projjita kaitava, pra, here, pra, ujjita kaitava, cheating is rejected. What is cheating? Dharma, artha, kama is cheating, and moksha also is included in projjita. That is what Sridhar Swami is saying. Now, that the Bhagavatam rejects cheating tendencies, so on one side and on another side, dharma, artha, kama, moksha is also highlighted so much. So how do we reconcile all those things? See, the Bhagavad Gita ends with moksha. Bhagavad Gita says, in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, moksha ishyami. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami ma shucha. That I will liberate you. I will deliver you. Surrender to me. So Bhagavan is promising moksha here. Moksha ishyami. So indirect, from the point of view of the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavan is promising something which is cheating religion. I hope you are able to understand. So in Shastra, dharma, artha, kama and moksha are also promised. Bhagavan also promises kama in the Bhagavad Gita, where devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayanta shreya param avapsita. In 3.11, Bhagavan promises Arjuna, the devatas will be pleased by sacrifices. They will please you, and you please the devatas. Fulfill each other's kam, and prosperity will be there for everybody. See here, the Bhagavad Gita itself is speaking about dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Now, for the person who is eligible for dharma, artha, kama and moksha, these statements are very valid. Therefore, I quoted that verse from the Bhagavatam, that sve sve dhikare ya nishtha sa gunah parikirtita. 11:20. I quoted this in the slides today. Steady adherence to their respective spiritual position constitutes real piety. So we have to see our position right now. If our position right now requires dharma, artha, kam, moksha, dharma, artha, kam, then we are situated in that. So we should be situated in that and then push ourselves ahead for bhakti. And if our situation is naturally we don't want dharma, artha, kam, we don't also want moksha, go directly for the 10th canto. That's it. Go directly for the highest fruit. There's nothing stopping you if you are naturally on that level. But if you are not on that level, Then the Vedas are a desire tree. Nigama kalpa taror. The Vedas, Nigama is kalpa taru, is a desire tree. The Vedas will give you everything, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and also prema. But it is galitam phalam. The Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit, prema. I hope you are able to understand. But Nigama, the Vedas, are the entire tree which give dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And the ripened fruit is Srimad Bhagavatam. So, according to your adhikar, if you want the ripened fruit, if you are eligible for the ripened fruit, go straight for the ripened fruit. But if you are not eligible for the ripened fruit, don't artificially beat yourself into trying to acquire a fruit for which you are not eligible. Because gradually, krame lokapaye, Mahaprabhu said to Raghunath Das, gradually, by and by, you will be able. Don't be in such a hurry. Don't try to, because see, it's your life that will be affected. And I'm saying this once, it's your life it is you who will suffer. People who get into premature renunciation or people who get into grihastha ashram prematurely, although they are not meant for it, they get into it because of somebody else's instruction. But the person who instructed doesn't suffer. We who get into it, we suffer. And therefore, it is you who will suffer if you take an incorrect decision. Therefore, take a decision according to your spiritual position. Therefore, ascertain your spiritual position by consulting a well-wishing senior, either from the family or either a Vaishnava. Vedic religion will give you pros and cons of both sides, dharma, artha, kama, and also about rejecting dharma, artha, kama. Because Veda is a desire tree. Okay, it's a whole pharmaceutical store. So some medicines will increase your kapha. Some medicines will decrease your kapha. You have to see what do you want. According to your eligibility, you take the medicine. So consult a Vaishnava who is like a proper doctor and take the proper medicine. That's the answer to your query. Thank you.
Prabhuji, just a
We'll
small
come back to you,
follow-up.
Prabhuji, okay?
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Next, we have Kokila Mataji.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for another chance. Prabhuji, my question is, while you were discussing about humility, so I got this question that humility means man shunyata. That's what you explained, right? But and then on the other level, there is self-pity. So isn't self-pity, there is a subtle difference because as of the perception of ourselves.
I didn't understand. Your voice broke off.
Prabhuji. So my question is like, you said humility is manya shunyata, that you should be devoid of any perception of yourself, right? But self-pity, isn't it, there's some perception of ourselves in that self-pity, because obviously we're pitying ourselves. Perception.
But the perception is not positive. The perception is negative. Therefore, we don't have to make our perception zero, because that's what an impersonalist would do. We have self-perception, but for those who are in prema, they see themselves often in the negative, because they are not able, they don't feel themselves worthy of that, of attaining that prema.
Sure. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. There is such a subtle difference. Thank you for explaining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, self-pity usually means there's an element of protest that this shouldn't be happening to me. Why me? Why does this happen to me? So maybe that's not what you mean, Prabhuji. But would it be like self-contempt?
Self-flagellation, self-sabotage. These are the terms.
Yeah, perhaps self-contempt rather than self-pity. Okay. Next we have Shyam Jagannath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, this is regarding your mentioning premature renunciation aspect. I want to ask.
Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions, the acharyas mention. So I would like to say that they are mentioning. Yes, please go ahead.
I want to ask, like Srila Prabhupada, like he gave sannyas to many of the disciples quite early. and then later many of
Prabhuji,
them could not.
one of our rules is that we don't ask questions which seek to hold specific people or institutions accountable to any philosophical principles. So this isn't a question that we can take.
Okay, okay.
Sure. Can you rephrase the question in a way, or in a way that as a general principle, if possible?
So how when we see that when we feel how to actually understand that whether truly a person is whether I am accepting renunciation, it is out of prematurely, or how to understand this honesty part you are explaining.
Sure. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentioned a very nice thing about when he described actual vairagya, when he described yathartha vairagya. What happens in yathartha vairagya is that all the symptoms of vairagya are fully present. The dress has not changed yet. All the symptoms are fully, the characteristics have developed, but you have not made a change of dress till now. And you are so confident in that life, it is just a natural life for you, that you are living that life so naturally that you are happily situated within it. And the change of dress then just becomes a formality after many years of living such a life. I hope you are able to understand. So that when the change of dress comes at the very end, and the characteristics have already developed since quite a long time, and there is not even, and because you know your mind, there is not even the desire to venture in any negative direction, in the direction of going back. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in fact, writes a song for such a Vaishnava. That, so let's say, Shyam Jagannath Prabhu, let's say, we hope that happens very soon for you, that you develop all the characteristics of that natural renunciation. Let's say, you are actually living that life, but you are in white cloth, and you are not in saffron cloth. And suddenly the desire comes, well, since I am living that life naturally, why not just take to saffron cloth? Why not just take to a saffron cloth? So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote a song about it, and I want to show that particular song which he wrote. I am sharing my screen. Here it is. This is from Kalyan Kalpataru. Mana tumi sannyasi sajite keno chao. Mind, why do you want to dress like a sannyasi now? Why do you, like, he says, Bahirere sajajata antarere bhankitata dambha puji sharir nachao. He says, the translation, my mind, why do you want to disguise yourself as sannyasi? As much as you decorate yourself externally with this garb, to the same degree you deceive yourself internally with this hoax. Actually, you are already situated as a renunciate. Why do you want to change your cloth also? Because you are worshipping false pride, simply make a show of material body and accept the dress of a renounced order. And then he says, just try to understand how to become a true sannyasi. Make your heart pure and constantly drink Krishna Katha, and search for that lifestyle which allows your spiritual life to be executed easily, free from any obstacles. Like that. Srila Bhaktivinoda. So finally, what did he want? Prabhu Shyam Jagannath, did he want the characteristics of renunciation or the dress of renunciation? What did he want? Please tell me. Characteristics of renunciation. Wonderful. So if first all the characteristics are developed and over a significant period of time you are naturally living organically that life, and if for some reason you wish to change it, make a change of cloth as a formality, that's still okay. So that is what is yathartha vairagya. That is actual vairagya as given by the previous acharya. It is so natural and organic. It is never badhyata mulak. It is never forced due to age, forced due to somebody's peer pressure. It is not forced at all. So that is the answer to your query. Right? Thank you, Prabhu.
I have a question, Prabhuji. It might be a different angle on the same question of Shyam Jagannath Prabhu.
Yeah.
At the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says that all my illusions gone. I'm ready to act according to your instructions and surrender to you. Then he fights in the war, remembering Krishna. He doesn't just give up all material engagements and go to an ashram to be renounced, right? In our later tradition, we have a definition or a description of Sharanagati, which includes 6 things, and 2 of them are giving up everything that's unfavorable for bhakti and accepting everything that's favorable. So my question is, when we say full surrender to Krishna, does that mean giving up all considerations apart from what is favorable to bhakti yoga, or does it mean acting according to our specific qualifications like Arjuna did?
No, Sharanagati is very person specific. It's not a single yardstick which is commonly made for everybody. So what is favorable for one person may not be favorable for another person. What is unfavorable for one person may be favorable for another person. For example, for what may be favorable for a man may not be favorable for a lady, and what may be favorable for a lady may not be favorable for a man. There is a very simple statement mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamritam. I will specify this to give an example of this. So when it is summer season, it's not heavy winters. पेटांगी गाय करे दंडवत नमस्कार, गोविंद कहे श्रीकांत आगे पेटांगी उतार. Antilila 12.37. When Shrikant offered obeisances to the Lord, he was still wearing his shirt and coat. Govinda told him, "My dear Shrikant, first take off these garments." So for a man, it is expected that when you are in a tropical climate, don't have anything on that upper part of the body when you are paying obeisances to Bhagwan. Now, is the same thing expected from a lady as an expression of surrender? No. So obviously, it's one simple example. One grain can show you the entire scenario. So it's very person specific, and ups and downs are expected in between till you attain smoothness. Just as when you learn how to walk on a tightrope, it's not that on the first day you learn how to walk properly. You wobble. For many days you wobble on the tightrope. After wobbling for many days on a tightrope, then you learn how to walk smoothly on a tightrope. So Sharanagati is like that tightrope, and the initial wobbling is expected. There's nothing wrong in that initial wobbling. But if you are expecting a smooth ride on the first day, that's not a proper expectation. So that's the answer to your question.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And thank you, Bhagavad Prabhu, for your patience. We'll go to you next.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, once again. Prabhuji, I have 2 questions. One is the follow-up from the previous one, and a separate question. So I'll first ask the follow-up question. The follow-up was just that, is it okay to use Jyotish Shastra to decide our nature in this regard?
Well,
for being a grahastha?
Yeah.
Because no, just because it is also that Jyotish on the life in the consideration of bhakti, Jyotish does not have that much effect. Bhakti changed the tangent of life. So how?
All right. Sure. So this question, I see. Jyotish determines the swabhav, the nature, mainly the nature you have bought from previous lives. So Jyotish determines that. On the strength of bhakti executed in this life, you might have changed that nature to a great extent. So, if on the strength of bhakti executed in this life, you have changed your nature, naturally, you will not put you will not give so much importance to what Jyotish is saying. But if you are a relatively new devotee who is still affected mostly by swabhav from previous life, then Jyotish definitely plays an important role. So, you will feel from within when you do your Jyotish reading that although this is my nature since birth, by my practices, I have overcome this nature. So hence, I don't have to take a decision purely based on Jyotish in this case. And a new devotee will feel what Jyotish is saying is correct. This is my nature and I have not yet overcome it. So I better follow the recommendation that is given here. So within your heart, Paramatma will give you that voice, whether you have overcome the specific nature mentioned in Jyotish or not, provided the Jyotish reading is done from a qualified Jyotishi. That is the answer to the query.
Okay, then one more question, Prabhuji,
Sure.
if you allow me.
Sure.
According the verse where Narad Muni said, just said to the relatives that it's okay, I'll think about it. In that you said we have to have controlled involvement with the relatives, and it should not be it should not exceed our adhikar. So exactly approximately how much involvement should we have with the
See,
relatives, because
yeah,
it has become a
I understand. As I told to Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, Prabhu, it's like walking on a tightrope. Now, everybody's tightrope is different. I hope you're able to understand. Not everybody is given the same rope. Somebody is given a tightrope at a greater height. Somebody is given a tightrope at a lesser height. So everybody's tightrope is different. So your particular situation in your family is different. My particular situation in mine is different. Somebody else's situation in their family is different. The beauty of Vedic culture is it doesn't give a single yardstick for everybody. It gives general recommendations. You are supposed to use your intelligence, understand the recommendation, apply it, and achieve smoothness in your life. As I said to Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, when you walk on a tightrope, initial wobbling is expected. I hope you're able to understand. When a person learns to walk on a tightrope, it's not that they start walking smoothly on the first day. Initial wobbling is expected from that individual. So while you are coming to know your family, relatives, etc., that initial wobbling, ups and downs will happen. But after some time, when you understood your situation nicely, when you're aware of your situation nicely, and then you know what to do, what not to do, and then you know what bhakti is. You know Shravanam, Kirtanam, how it is to be executed. So you will do everything favorable for that particular situation, everything that is needed for that situation. Nobody else will be able to walk on the rope for you. You have to walk on the rope. You have to walk on the rope. All right. People will give you general recommendations. It is you who has to walk on that rope. Like this. Okay. So that is the answer to your query.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, and Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu also for giving me these so much chances. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. We appreciate your patience and everyone's patience. We have a question from Gokulananda Prabhu. Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, thank you very much for all the illuminating commentaries and perspectives you've shared on the fourth verse of Siksastakam. You've explained, following Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that true renunciation, yatartha vairagya, arises naturally from awakened bhakti. In that light, how should we understand brahmachari life as renunciation? Traditionally, it was a formative discipline under the Guru, not necessarily the spontaneous fruit of bhava. So how should we understand adopting brahmachari life in adulthood? Does it necessarily indicate genuine inner detachment or artificial renunciation? Or can it be a deliberate lifestyle choice meant to safeguard one's sadhana without implying advanced realization?
All right. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Mahashay, I will have to find that essay. He made a point about it, that those who have a Brahminical nature are suited for Brahmachari ashram. This is a very important point. Please hear carefully. Those who have a Brahminical nature are suited for Brahmachari ashram. Of course, there are many people who have Brahminical nature and are suited for Grihastha ashram. But for a Brahmachari especially, a person needs to have a Brahminical mindset. There is a reason for that. Brahmachari life is student life, and the main duty of a student is to study the Shastra. And if a student doesn't study Shastra, obviously the attention will be diverted in other fields. Dhanaṁ, janam, sundarīṁ are always waiting if we are not studying Shastra. Brahmachari's life is also a renunciate's life, but not exactly. Does it expect the full force of renunciation as expected from a sannyasi? A brahmachari is allowed certain lapses, occasional lapses, not deliberate lapses. Some lapses are allowed for a brahmachari. I will specify an example of such a lapse as it is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In Let me find an example of that. So meanwhile, I will specify this. A brahmachari is allowed to have certain this is 11:17:25 of Srimad Bhagavatam. I am sharing my screen. Here it is. रेतो नावकिरे जातु ब्रह्मव्रतधर स्वयं अवकीर्णे वगाह्याप्सु यतासु स्त्रीपदम जपेत. On observing the vow of celibate brahmachari life, we should never pass semen. If the semen by chance spills out by itself, the brahmachari should immediately take bath in water, control his breath by pranayam, and chant the Gayatri mantra. Example of a verse from Bhagavatam which shows that perfection of a sannyasi is not expected from a brahmachari. There is a difference between brahmachari life and sannyasi life. If a sannyasi does this, there will be big consequences. If this happens with a sannyasi after the age of 70, big consequences. But the same is not expected from a brahmachari who is young. A brahmachari life is a practitioner's life. Let's be very honest. It's a practitioner's life. But if the brahmacharya is taken for genuine reasons, genuine reason means that I am naturally not inclined to getting married. My nature is Brahminical. I would love to study the Shastra. I would love to advance on the path of bhakti. Then there is a very good chance that the ashram, one will be able to stay within the ashram for one's entire life happily. If there are desires for marriage, if one is continuously contemplating marriage, if one is not able to study Shastra, if one is not able to understand the teachings of the Sampradaya, then gradually it will become a burden. And once it becomes a burden, then sooner or later, eventuality will descend upon us. And so, everybody has to decide according to their adhikar, their mindset. But one general statement from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, those who want to remain brahmachari must have a Brahminical mindset. Otherwise, externally one may remain forcibly, but internally one's bhakti will be severely damaged. This is what I would like to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before the next question, just a note, I got a question about turning off cameras. We only turn off cameras when people are walking around and doing things just because it's distracting. So either sit and be attentive for class if you want to have your camera on, or just turn it off if you need to do other things. Next we have Devesh Agarwal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for giving me another chance. Prabhu, my question is this time is about the method of Vairagya as talked about in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra as well. And the literature of Advaitwadis is that first to do dosh darshan and then go to the stage of Vasitasana Vairagya.
You have to make the query easy so that everybody can understand. If you use many technical terms, people will not understand the query.
Okay. How should I so my question is basically that like these methods of renunciation by seeing faults in the sense objects, is it necessary?
It is not. It is not necessary for the devotee, because in the Ashtanga Yoga system, you do dosha darshan. You see faults in the material world, and by seeing faults in the material world, you stay away from the material world. But then that becomes Phalgu Vairagya, because you are running away from even those things which can be used in the seva of Bhagwan. So,
but sometimes it does have some utility in the devotional life as well, because it's better to stay away from it than I my perception is that why to get involved with the things. If it is better to
if you are,
there's always a risk of always a risk of getting involved
if you feel that some material object is a risk, some material entity is a risk, why get involved? That is your natural mindset. Somebody else's natural mindset may be different. Okay, for example, in Mahāprabhu's pastimes, there were many devotees who would naturally stay away from many material things. And there were many devotees who accepted all the material things. For example, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he had many
he wore 5 rings and all those
5 rings and accept everything, is eating pan, chewing pan, and he's also simultaneously experiencing bhakti ras. And then there is Swarup Damodar Goswami, who has given up everything. He's also experiencing bhakti ras. So it depends on the mindset. If you don't, want to accept a particular thing, that's okay. One or two things is okay. But if you're rejecting the entire material world and running away from it, then it is turning into Phalgu Vairagya. So be a little careful about that. That's what I would like to say. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you.
Prabhuji, is the desire to avoid suffering a good principle for deciding how to live our lives, or can that lead to problems in and of itself?
The living entities naturally desires to avoid suffering, and we will be dishonest with ourselves if we say that we should live a life where we attract suffering. There is a definition of dukkha in the commentaries to Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Dukkham svato dveshyam. Dukkha, suffering, is that which the living entity is naturally repulsed by. That is what dukkha is. This is the definition of dukkha as given by Shri Nagesh Bhatt in his commentary to Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. So it's not that we cut ourselves every day to experience suffering. That's not what we do. But if there is some dukkha which comes by itself, some suffering which comes by itself, not by our own arrangement, and if that dukkha is going to help bring us closer to Bhagavan, we would have that. We would rather have that dukkha. So there are very two specific qualities. The dukkha should come by itself. We don't have to artificially arrange it. Second, it should bring us closer to Bhagavan. If these two criteria are satisfied, we would rather have that dukkha. That is the attitude of the devotee. The devotee is not into self-flagellation in order to somehow think that this will bring me closer to Bhagavan. That is not the attitude. Dukkha comes by itself just as sukha comes by itself. That's what the devotee accepts. So that is the answer.
Thank you. I have to be honest, my question was really a statement. Krishna says that if we give something up because we don't want to suffer, that's renunciation in the mode of passion. And so I think anything we do in life that's worthwhile requires suffering and sacrifice and discipline and effort. So why not embrace those things when they can lead to a higher outcome than simply trying to create a little bubble where there's no suffering.
Correct.
I think we've reached the end of our questions.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. You did ask if someone asked a question. It was actually a comment. Yeah, I answered in WhatsApp.
Okay.
Besides that, it's all comments. So
okay,
we've reached the end of our Q&A. Thank you so much for your patience with me. I'm very imperfect in my role as moderator, and it's really just a role. I'm not special in any way. I'm just playing a part as my service. So thank you all. And I'd like to invite everyone now to unmute and give a big thank you to Hari Parshad Prabhu.
Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Shriman Hari Parshad Prabhu Ji ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you very
Srila
much.
Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki
Hari
jai.
Bol, Hari
Jai.
Bol.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Panchakalpadurupasya kripasindupya patitanam pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Thank you
Thank
everyone
you very
so
much,
much.
Prabhuji, for wonderful
We look
class. Thank
forward
you so
to
much.
see you for the next
Jai
session.
Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Ki jai.
Jai.